I thought I knew what love looked like. Not the cinematic kind. The real kind. The kind that begins somewhere between a casual touch and a deep, "How was your day?" The kind that grows slowly, steadily. The kind that doesn't make you question whether you're wanted. I wasn't some naive kid. I was 30, confident, running my own business. The kind of guy who doesn't skip the gym, files taxes on time, and actually listens when someone speaks. I didn't see myself as vulnerable, not the type to get emotionally played. But her. She was like an August wind, warm, soft, but strong enough to upend your life in seconds. Her name was Maria, blonde, 8 years younger, a final year student, working part-time at a bank and part-time on social projects. And she had that rare kind of silence that made you want to talk endlessly. We met through a mutual friend. I wasn't even looking for anything serious, but she made me forget all my plans instantly. The first message was polite, light, then another, then a voice note. Her voice, slightly raspy, calm, like an evening after the rain. We talked for 2 hours the first time. Our first date? Classic. A rooftop restaurant. Wine. Laughter. She looked me in the eye and kept fidgeting with her water glass, like she was trying to hold herself back. But when I gently touched her hand, she didn't pull away. In fact, she seemed like she'd been waiting. Then the taxi. We rode together. And the kiss, sudden, but soft, warm. The kind that makes you want to plan a future, even when your brain tells you not to. I texted her, called her. She always replied, not always instantly, but always with warmth. She never asked for anything directly. But when she'd say something like, "I saw this dress, so pretty, but probably not this month," I already knew she'd be getting it in a gift box in a few days. And every time she hugged me, I believed it wasn't about the gifts. That she saw more in me than just a wallet. That her smile was genuine. My friends watched in silence. At first, they joked. Then, they warned. Eventually, they stopped. One by one, with quiet respect, but finality. They saw I didn't want to hear the truth. And I saw it too. But what did it matter when she texted, "You're such a good guy. I feel safe with you." I believed her. I believed in the version of her I made up in my head. Next time, I'll talk about when the cracks started to show. When she began disappearing for days. How I blamed her exhaustion. How I kept bringing flowers and waited by her apartment without even getting a thank you. But for now, I'm just a guy who hasn't realized yet that he's playing a game with no rules. And no opponent. Just alone. Alone with my own hope. Things didn't change all at once. At first, tiny shifts. Instead of good night, it became just sleep well. Instead of emojis, a period. Instead of warmth, a kind of neutrality, subtle like the shift from summer to fall. One morning, I texted her at 10. Wished her a good day, asked how her night with the girls went. No reply. Not by noon. Not by evening. Not by night. And then the thoughts started spiraling. Maybe something happened. Maybe she's busy. Maybe she forgot. Or maybe she just didn't want to. The next day she answered. Briefly, "All good, thanks. Lots to do." And I believed her. Because I wanted to. Because by then, I wasn't falling in love. I was dissolving, quietly, under the mask of care. She started disappearing for days. Then weekends. Going to my mom's. Too much work. I'll try to call later. Sometimes she'd call, but her voice changed, like she was forcing herself to be polite. And I, in contrast, poured out warmth, hoping not to lose her. Once, I showed up outside her building without warning, flowers in hand. I texted her, "I'm here. Just wanted to see you for a minute." She didn't come down, didn't reply. The next day she said, "I fell asleep. Sorry. Work was brutal." And again, I believed her. I started giving her gifts more often, not to buy her, but because that was the only time her eyes lit up. Though now I know, they didn't shine with joy. They glowed with triumph. My friends stopped asking how things were going. One of them just said, "You're not yourself anymore, man." I got angry, told him they didn't get it, that she was going through a lot, that she was kind, just tired, guarded, and I was the one who'd break down her walls. But the walls didn't fall. They grew taller. It started with an evening, one of those where the city smells like rain, and all you want is someone's hand in yours. I called her, just wanted to hear her voice. She didn't pick up. An hour later, I called again. Nothing. The next day, same thing. Silence. Like I was shouting down a well. Like my voice didn't have the strength to reach her anymore. I sat on the windowsill, in the dark, staring at my phone. My heart wasn't racing from worry, it was racing from humiliation. This wasn't about love anymore. This was about control, about losing myself. And still, I refused to admit it. I called from a different number. She picked up. I said nothing, just listened. She was quiet for a few seconds, then hung up. I knew she knew it was me. 3 days passed. I didn't call. Neither did she. But on the 4th, she did. Her voice was calm, even sweet. We talked again for nearly 2 hours. She told me about work, about stress, about her coworkers. And just like that, I got pulled back in. Melted again. Believed again. I asked, "Why didn't you answer before?" She said, "I was exhausted. Didn't want to talk to anyone. Didn't want to give half-hearted emotions." It sounded logical. Sounded honest. But it didn't feel sincere. She asked why I liked her. I answered like a fool. Because every time we talk, you open up a little more, and I feel like I'm getting to know you all over again. She laughed, and it was warm. Falsely warm. The kind of laugh that only warms you while it's happening. I suggested we meet. Somewhere nearby, close to her place. She said, "I'll think about it." Then disappeared again. I waited. 6 days. On the 7th, I called. Busy. An hour later, no answer. And inside, just questions. Or maybe just one. Why am I letting myself feel like this? I remember when she texted, "We can meet Friday. Just for an hour." I read that message over and over. I saw it as a chance. A fresh start. A return. I picked my best shirt. Bought her favorite flowers. Those tiny pink ones with a delicate scent. Waiting for her outside the cafe felt like standing in front of my own heart. She was 40 minutes late. She came with no makeup, tired eyes. Smiled for a second, like she hoped I wouldn't ask questions. We sat down. She ordered tea. I got coffee. We talked about small things, the weather, traffic, random news. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because I was scared of the silence. Then I gathered the courage. Asked her directly, "Tell me honestly, do you still see us?" She looked into her cup for a long time, then softly said, "You're a good guy? Truly." but I don't feel like I want to stay. It's not you. I'm just not your person. It sounded like a verdict. A shot without a bullet. I nodded, smiled, paid for both. As we walked to her bus stop, I tried to memorize everything. The crackle of her scarf, how she adjusted her hair, how she avoided eye contact. We hugged, briefly, awkwardly, and she walked away. I stood there for a while, watching her disappear. Then I walked the other way. No music, no thoughts, just walked. After her, there was silence. Not the pretty kind, deep, sticky, the kind that presses against your chest. I'd come home and not turn on the lights. Just sit, scroll through messages without looking for anyone in particular. Play shows, never watch them. Eat, taste nothing. I became the kind of person who wakes up not because they're rested, but because lying there hurts more. I slept in a shirt that smelled like her, even though it had been weeks since we last met. All she left behind was a scent and silence. I tried seeing someone, just to talk, to have coffee, but everyone felt off, like they were from a world I no longer belonged to. I listened, nodded, even smiled, but I thought only of her, how she would have reacted, what she would have said, how she'd rest her hands on the table. One night, I almost texted her. A long message, honest, about how empty it felt, how I craved even a simple "How are you?" But I didn't send it, because I knew she wasn't silent by accident. Her silence was chosen, measured, cold. My friends, they started coming back. Slowly. No lectures. Just invites for beer. A suggestion to go to the mountains. I said no. Then no again. But eventually, I went. Just to escape a city where everything smelled like her. Up there, on the summit, I breathed deeply for the first time in weeks. And for the first time in a long while, I didn't think of her every second. Just every few minutes. Cities don't forget. They just hide memories on other streets. Sometimes it feels like you've healed, until you see someone from behind in line at a coffee shop, and your heart clenches all over again. I was walking home when I saw her friend. She wasn't alone. She was laughing, hugging someone. Not her. But the resemblance was sharp enough to make me stop. And then I realized I was afraid. Afraid that one day I'd see her with someone else, and it wouldn't hurt. And that would hurt even more. Over the weekend, I ended up at a place we once went together. Same courtyard, same musicians, even the same smell from the food truck. And there I was, standing still, as everything inside screamed, "Remember how you held her hand here?" And yet, I couldn't remember what her voice sounded like in person anymore. And then I met someone else. Not love, not even infatuation, just a conversation. Simple, honest, no games. Her name was Alice. She wasn't trying to be interesting. She just was. And I felt light. Not because I forgot Maria, but because, for once, I wasn't comparing. We talked about movies, about sugarless coffee, about cats. She laughed, not like Maria. Her laugh wasn't loud, but deep, like something only she understood. And I wasn't trying to impress her. I was just me. For the first time in a long while, without fear of not being enough. That night, she texted, "I enjoyed today. You're real." And I stared at the message. Not because I didn't know how to reply, but because I wanted to believe it. It happened when I least expected it. A regular evening. After work, tired, holding a coffee to go. I was standing by a shop window, no idea why, and heard a familiar voice behind me. "Hey." I turned around. Maria. She looked the same and completely different. Hair shorter, no makeup, her eyes deeper. She smiled, cautiously, like she wasn't sure if I had the right to be angry. "It's been a while," she said. I nodded. That was all I could do. We walked a few blocks together. She said little. I said even less. Then she stopped and said, "I've thought about you a lot." I just didn't know what to say. I didn't respond right away. And when I finally spoke, I barely recognized my own voice. "Do you know now?" She nodded, slowly, then said what maybe she'd wanted to say from the beginning. "You were better than me, and I was weak. I didn't want to love anyone. I just liked being loved." I looked at her and didn't feel anger, just peace and exhaustion, like after a long illness. And I realized I didn't belong to her anymore, not even in thought. I said, "Thank you for being honest, for everything we had, and for leaving." We hugged, not to bring something back, but to say goodbye, and this time for real. The next morning, I didn't wake up thinking about her, or even thinking about not thinking about her. I just woke up. For the first time in months, it didn't hurt. I made coffee, not the kind she liked, my kind, strong, bitter. The sun came through the window, and I didn't tie it to her or any memory. It was just a day, and I was in it, without regret. I opened the window, breathed in air that didn't smell like loss. I wasn't waiting for a message. I didn't check stories. I didn't scan her online status for signs of myself. For the first time, I lived without inspecting the past under a microscope. I didn't love someone new yet. Maybe I wouldn't for a while. But I loved myself, the me who survived, the one who went through it all and didn't come out bitter, the one who still wants to believe and isn't afraid to lose anymore, because now he knows losing yourself is worse. I saw Alice a few more times. She didn't ask too much, didn't push. She just was. And so was I, without fear, without needing to be perfect. We sat in silence, not from tension, but comfort. It wasn't a love story, but maybe it was the beginning of one. I no longer waited for a call, but if it came, I knew I wouldn't answer, not out of spite, but out of respect, for myself, for who I'd become, for what I let go. And maybe that's what healing really is, not forgetting, but remembering and not hurting anymore.